Let's take a little bit of time today to talk about charm farming methods. There are currently 5 methods that I know about for farming charms, and I would like to go over what they actually are and which one of them is the best. This is not a guide, this is just a discussion. It's also going to serve as a way for people to see options that they didn't realize were viable.
Dumo plays!
The 5 ways I'm going to be talking about today consist of farming the final boss, 7-star rampages, slamming monsters together, hunting high-value, high-rank monsters, and hunting random high-rank monsters with other people. When discussing numbers, I basically just took averages when the numbers were fairly close, and when they were wildly different, I gave a bit of a range. So, for the final boss, I was looking at around 1,450 points, on average. For 7-star rampages, I was getting anywhere from 1,250 to 1,750. Slamming monsters together was netting about 200 to 300 points, but that was in about 3 minutes. Hunting high-value HR7 monsters would typically net somewhere in the range of 850 to 900 points on average. And hunting random monsters with other people, well, it doesn't really matter to me because you're not really trying to optimize. It's also really hard to get a number since you can get anywhere from a low-value Rathian to a high-value final boss. Since it takes 750 points to keep the melder going, let's keep that in mind as we move forward. So, putting this together, many of the high-value HR7 monsters can give enough materials to keep the melder going, especially when you consider that materials do come in from Youster hunters while you're doing this. For many, this is more than enough. It isn't overly uncommon to see these hunts get down to the 10-minute and maybe even under mark as you improve at the game and that specific hunt. So if we look at the 10-minute time, while bashing monsters together, we can get around 3 runs, since they typically take about 3 minutes to do. This would mean that we can get about 600 to 900 points at the melder in this amount of time. Seeing as I've seen a run with Diablos get me less than 600 points, I think it's safe to say that bashing monsters together isn't actually a terrible option. The big advantage there is that it's very easy to do, the runs are quick, and it's consistent. And, well, you can do it while doing other things like watching YouTube. The downside is that you're not actually improving at the game and at fighting other monsters. Also, keep in mind that Diablos, even with bad runs, can net enough points to keep the melder going and be ahead of bashing monsters together if you can manage to get under the 10-minute mark. But some runs do suck. As you approach the 10-minute mark and start going underneath, hunting is going to start pulling ahead of running monsters together. Consider both options. Sure, the easy method is a better pace when your hunts are slower, but you have more potential as you get better at hunting. Even consider doing the hunts with friends, which will help bring your times down. While we're still talking about high-value hunts, let's quickly talk about the lower high-rank hunts. They're not efficient at all for the melder. If you're hunting with friends, you're obtaining melding points, but you're going to be doing it at a slower pace. This isn't a bad thing. I assume you would have been hunting with those people anyways, so technically the parts are essentially free. If you're just hunting for fun, you're not out charm farming, and this means that you have a bunch of extra points in the melder that took no extra time versus a dedicated charm farm time. However, it did take you longer to obtain those parts, and they're a little bit of a lesser value, so it all really depends on how you look at it. Now let's talk about the 7-star rampages, which will generally have the best single quest output in the melder. However, they're slow. Rampages can typically take about 20 minutes. If you're doing your high-value HR7 hunts in under 10 minutes, they're going to outpace your rampage for points. I also want to talk really quickly about your 6-star rampages. One in particular is for a rather attractive high-value monster. However, the 6-star rampages don't net Defender 7 tickets, which is going to make up the bulk of the points that overtakes the other forms of farming. For this reason, I would highly recommend sticking to the 7-star rampages whenever you can. Also, to come back around to bashing monsters together, it's still somewhat comparable when you start thinking about the long times that it takes to get through a rampage. This all brings us to the final boss, which is very close behind the output of 7-star rampages. But this can be done in under 10 minutes by most people when you get the hang of it, and groups can get it under 10 minutes without too many issues. I myself followed a light bowgun guide for fighting the final boss, and in my first light bowgun hunt in Monster Hunter Rise, I did the final boss in about 11 minutes, so it can easily get under 10 for pretty much anyone that puts some time in and works to get better at the fight. This is also noting that light bow gun is fairly easy to pick up, and it's actually quite strong when doing pierce against the final boss. I have yet to see a method to get rampages under 15 minutes for normal players, and that means that the final boss starts to outpace it when we start talking about points over time. Maybe we will see some improved strategies in the future for rampages, but at this point in time, I'm just not seeing them. Either way, all of these methods can keep your melder full. It just depends on the speed of your hunts. One may be better, with the final boss having the most potential overall. But again, this all depends on your hunt times. If you happen to have Rajang or something in that area around 5 minutes, and the final boss is sitting around 10 minutes for you, you're typically going to be looking at your Rajang. However, once your Rajang and final boss times get closer together, the final boss is going to take over for the quickest method. And if you're looking at a 15-minute time on your final boss or a Rajang or whatever other high-value HR7 you're doing, then rampages may be the way to go for you. All this while remembering that you can always bash monsters together for a fairly consistent, very easy amount of points that actually isn't too far behind the other methods. But, I want to bring up one final point to consider. We always talk about how fast we can do things, and we talk about our potential in output per minute or per hour. But what about our output per week or month? If you don't like doing a specific method, your output over time in that method drops because you are not motivated. You'll do less runs because you're not enjoying yourself. All of these methods have positives. All of them can keep your melder working. Don't pick, say, the final boss because it has the best numbers or it's the meta. Pick the final boss because you actually enjoy doing the fight. If you don't like doing the fight, do something else. You have other options, and they are viable. You aren't holding yourself back. You can keep the melder moving, and you will play longer. And I'm not saying not to be efficient or not to do the final boss. I'm telling you not to feel forced into one method or another. The way I personally keep the melder going is via solo hunts with Rajang and Gos Harag, because I like those fights. When I'm not doing those, I'm hunting with friends, which can include anything from low-value monsters to rampages to even the final boss. When I don't have friends to hunt with and I don't feel like soloing, I smash some Diablos together while watching YouTube. I don't like the final boss and I'm not a fan of Rampage's solo. So, I do other things instead. And I feel like I'm not any further ahead or behind than anyone else. At the end of the day, give everything a try and see what you find the most fun, and work on that. It's great to get, say, 100 charms a week, but if you hit 400 charms and you're done, wouldn't you have been better off doing 80 charms a week for 2 months, 3 months, even more? Just play the long game. And if you enjoy doing the final boss, by all means do it. Enjoy those points coming in and have fun doing the fight. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed the video, found it helpful, please leave a like or even subscribe for more Monster Hunter content. If you're looking for a community of hunters to join, there's a link to my Discord server in the description. Until next time, good luck with the melder, and have a great day.